Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So the executive producer just had a stream. It was a lot of Q&A along with some presentations as a bit of a roadmap of what we'll hope to see in the futures. So let's break it down into what I believe are the important bits to know. So they had a slideshow, and here we can see the release calendar for this year. So again, if we go back, we've had Module 27 in November of last year. Then Module 28 we're just about to get on April the 23rd, next week Tuesday. That will also be coming with the Day of the Dungeon Master on the following Thursday. And then, between June and July we get the anniversary event. Then between July and August we get the Summer Festival. And the launch of the next module in around August to probably early September. In terms of Module 28, we kind of already know everything. I've covered it in previous videos, but if you've been living under a rock, you can read through it right there, and that's what you'll expect to see, again, just next week, April the 23rd. But then we do go to Module 29. So, again, for PCs and consoles, they'll be coming out this summer, so again, most likely early August, mid-August, and I actually have a pretty good guess. I'll show you in just a sec, but the module will not be in Wildspace, it'll be back on Toriel and within the Sword Coast. Now, yes, those locations are within, say, the bounds of the Frost Maiden campaign, but Brett Norton, when asked, did clearly state it's not going to be within Icewind Dale, so we won't be going back there. Now, this will feature an adventure zone, a dungeon, and a lot of user experience updates. Now, they did want to push out those quality of life user experience changes earlier, potentially with Module 28, but there were some bugs they still needed to work out, so they didn't rush that. However, we should look forward to, a few weeks into the launch of Module 28, some updates already coming out, with then the final updates all coming with Module 29. Brett seemed pretty excited when he talked about it, and says he's been looking forward to those changes for quite a long time. But those of you who are concerned about the game's future, we can confirm a Module 30. This will be coming in the winter. However, it's still all in the early stages of planning, so nothing they can really tease there in the way of content. Now, my best guess for the Module 29 launch date would be when the Battle Pass ends. That is August the 6th. We should be seeing around that time, that's probably the earliest we shall see Module 29. Jumping back to the stream, they had a whole bunch of Q&A then. So first of all, why was Module 28's dungeon, the Imperial Citadel, not put on the preview server? And well, they say it's because of timing and manpower. They had issues with scheduling and just ended up not being able to arrange it. They don't want to just put it on the preview server and that's it. That's not really the intent. The intent is they put it on the preview server and they collect player feedback from doing that. However, they didn't have the staff, they didn't have the manpower and the scheduling correct to be able to actually have people to, I guess, accept that feedback and work in it. And otherwise, they probably seem to be happy enough with the dungeon as it is, and we'll see that on live how it is. I hope it's not too much of a mess. However, that will not be the new standard. They do hope to, in the future, push dungeons out and have a more thorough player feedback period. So yeah, we should be able to look forward to, if possible, future content coming to the previous server, unlike what happened here. There was a question about vaulted content. Will any of that be returning? And yes, it's reasonable to expect that. Something like the CTA skirmishes perhaps, and rewards from those. Another question, are there any plans to adjust more classes? Potentially the Warlock? And yes, they are aware that Warlock and Cleric particularly still could use some quality of life improvements and some, say, buffs here and there. However, they're pretty satisfied that right now all Paragon paths are pretty capable at completing all content. For example, if you wanted to do a full run of the Moondancer trial with all clerics and say 2 tanks, you can. 2 healers, the rest Cleric DPS, and you can beat it. I have gone and beat it with Deadmano hosting it. He streams on Twitch. Unfortunately, something went wrong with my recording and I ended up not having it. But yeah, it's totally doable, and they, again, seem pretty happy with the state of all the classes right now. They're pretty viable and can complete all the content in the game. Of course, they are aware, say, Warlock DPS and Cleric DPS could use some improvements. But moving on, it was asked, is there any updates coming to the trade bar store and, say, the Reaper's Challenge store? And he says yes, it was just due to timing and, again, probably manpower. They are training Deca's staff to help develop the game, so they didn't have a whole lot of time for this. But yeah, they do expect to continually update stores like that, adding new things after a period of time. Also, like with the Astro Lockbox, adding new rewards there, as well as the appointment vendors. But moving on, the question was asked, what are their thoughts about the bind command? You can create set keybinds to basically do multiple powers at once, stringing them together. And he says that it's not really intended to be able to build strings like that, to be able to have, say, one button do a multiple different powers, one after the other, together like that, basically creating a macro in the game. That is just a feature of the game as it is now, but they will be looking at that and probably looking at certain commands and making them more restricted, or potentially, yeah, removing them. Another question was asked, will Deca be making new modules? And yes, they totally will be making new content and new modules moving forward as soon as they're on board and can help with that. Then it was asked about future Celestial ranks. Yes, other items will be getting the Celestial rank over time. Like we saw the Mythic rank getting introduced from what it was to max at Legendary. So that will be happening. And the other concerning question is, will they make it so that you'll have to bind it, like with the enchantments? And the answer is no. They don't intend for you have to bind it to be able to upgrade it. That is only a unique thing with the enchantments, just the way the whole system was set up with the mythics from the beginning, how it was coded, and I guess it was too much manpower, too much work to change that, and they ended up just leaving it as it is now. You have to bind your mythic enchantments to be account wide to be able to upgrade them to Celestial. I don't know the full knowledge as to why in coding terms, but you take it or leave it. That's just how they say so. And they don't intend that future ranks of other things like, say, insignias would need to be bound before you can upgrade it. They don't even have an account-wide system right now, so there would be no reason for them to require them to be bound. Then it was asked about flying mounts. Would that ever be added, like true flying mounts? And the answer is no. The maps are just not built for it. They could add somewhat of a little bit of flying within certain zones, but again, it would mean going through all of the zones and adjusting all the maps to allow for this flying without, say, ending up outside of the map and seeing, yeah, basically the game kind of broken. So potentially they could add this in newer zones, but it would only be specific to that zone. For example, the grapple in Dragonbone Vale, the map was built to allow for that. So they could have a certain zone that could allow for a flying mount. Then it was asked about Mirage weapons. When is the nerf happening? When are they getting changed? And they say, yes, it's coming, but not with the Module 20 update. There's still a lot of work to be put in there to get it right. They want it to still be useful, but not like overpowered. Right now, it's like the forever best weapon for particularly Bard, Rogue, and Ranger, just by the amount of damage they give you. And if they keep creating new content and they keep Mirage the way it is, that'll be it. You get your Mirage weapons for those classes and you'll never upgrade. I mean, yeah, you can always argue they could just make newer weapons better. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Then it was asked about crossplay, and he says pretty much no. It could be added to the wish list of, say, Deca, but the game just wasn't built for it, and it would require an absolute ton of work and somebody really dedicated to sorting it out. Then somebody asked older content drop rates, would they be considered to get improved? And they said yes, depending on player participation, if it goes down and so on in certain content, they look at improving the drop rate so that, yeah, it isn't so hard to get those items when you say can't find that many people to actually run it. It was asked about the Knoxbox event, would that return? And they said probably not. That was more like a prototype event, and so no plans to run it again. Then the appointment store, the costs, is there any plans to reduce those? And they say, not really. It's intended to take a long time to get the top items. For example, you want Portobello da Vinci. He says, yeah, that's well intended to take like a year or more to actually get it. Overall, that is all that was really specific to Neverwinter that I thought you guys should know about. Good to see they do have plans for Module 29 and even Module 30. Nice to see that Module 29 will actually be launching sooner than we had here with Module 28. One thing I do wish they would add is some better incentive to actually run, say, the new dungeon on the master version, like we've had with Master Zemna's Reliquary and Master Tiamat. Those two trials were great with replayability. Even the Master Demon Web Pits dungeon has quite a lot of replayability with regards to the Masterwork drops. There is nothing here that I can see moving forward with the Imperial Citadel dungeon. There does not seem to be much you can obtain from there outside of the gear, which once you'll get it, you'll be like, I don't have any real need to do this anymore. There's no real replayability with it. You get your stuff, you leave. That is a concern that players have been bringing up. We did not get a real answer within the stream, but again, I'll keep you guys updated if we get any response from the devs. Once again, a massive thank you to all these channel members for their added support, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.